All right, good morning. Hope everybody's ready for August 17th because it's right around the corner. So we will talk a good bit about that today. Um, have some, I guess, good news. There's a couple of people that have filled out the form for the week, but they're not going to be on the meeting. And pretty much all of them are missing because they either have closings or 2 or 3 appointments and stuff of that nature. So, and they, because they're busy and got work going on, they can't make the meeting. So to me, if you're going to miss, that's the reason to miss. Of course, if you have personal appointments and that type of stuff, that's one thing. But when I see people saying that they're not going to make it because they have closings or showings or they got clients coming in from out of town and those type of things, and then I look at their numbers on the sheet, they fill that out even though they're not making it, which is what I would like for everyone to do. Even if you're not going to make it, still fill out the milestones. And I'll do a kind of a brief. We have a few new folks, so I'm going to do a kind of a brief intro to the program, so everyone can kind of get an idea what it works like, so people aren't really confused about it. But it just boils down to the statement I have here. Hopefully, everyone that's been part of the program is starting to see how much of a difference it makes. Like how to become the go-to expert for life in only 52 weeks. So for everyone who's been part of this program, to me, you typically haven't had someone to give you guidance for life and real estate. Usually because they're looking out for themselves. They're thinking about their business. I'm sure you've met the brokers out there that have the, 50-50 splits, and everything is about how to make sure they put more money in their pocket and pay their overhead and that type of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as they're helping you feed your family and taking care of you, that's great. But there becomes a time where you kind of feel like you graduate from those type of programs and you want to do this on your own. And that's where I feel like that's my niche. That's where I come in. I've tried the other way. It's just hard for me to hold back my training. So it's different for me when I'm training people, because I'm always thinking, like, when I was in the military, we were just a lot different. We didn't think about like how to protect our position.
And he slipped on the bottom board.
So we didn't think about how to protect like our position, or what was going to happen next, because we were always thinking we're going to be moving upward. So we knew we were going to go from lieutenant to captain to major, whatever the next rank was, and we were going to take on more responsibility. So there was never this desire to protect your ground and make sure that you kept everyone else from learning and growing, because you knew as you grew, you wanted to grow other people. And so it may be because of that background where I feel like when I'm training, it's more about making sure that everyone is getting to that next level and not worrying about taking care of just me. Hopefully that comes across in my training. I think most people know that, but I just want people to kind of see, when you think about the dynamic agent mastermind, I've been doing this for 18 years, and I came up with this idea earlier when I talked with Tanya about she asked about, well, what can I do to, meet more people, bring on more people, and, structure something that would attract people to a group or team. And so we started talking about the idea that I had about a mastermind, and she's like, oh, I like it. So, okay, we can kind of co-sponsor this. But the whole concept is for people to have a game plan for life. That's the big difference. Whereas typically you're looking 3 to 6 months down the road, and then your broker's trying to give you something else to figure out. Whereas the way I set this up, as you guys can tell, I am going to make a few changes, but as you can tell, it starts with onboarding, getting organized. And so I had a few people ask, like, well, what if I join and you're already on week 13? So it doesn't really matter, because once you see the structure, it's fine. And that's where this comes in. So if you're like, all right, I'm on week 13 and you just got started. Well, first you definitely need to onboard and get organized. And that's kind of at your own pace. But let's say you do week 2's assignment and it's week 13 for everybody else, or somebody else is at week 6, 7, or 8. As everyone who's already done these assignments, it doesn't really matter, because all we're talking about is where did you get the leads from. So each structure that we have in place, every system we have in place, is for you to take that assignment and see if you can generate business from it. So if you can take that assignment and generate business, then you have something to contribute to the entire group. It doesn't faze us that you're working on week 1's assignment where you recorded your first video and you go, hey, I just recorded my first video and I actually picked up 2 or 3 leads from that. Everybody on the mastermind is just as excited as if it was your 13th week and you did the same thing. And that's what I want everybody to understand. Like, this isn't designed to be structured in a way in which it's ABC. It's the ABCs should have already been taken care of. I'm going to have a portion of the training where the first 12 weeks, I'm just going to rearrange a lot of stuff, but I'm going to set up my boot camp in the 52 weeks for the first 12. It's going to say probably the first 12, well, maybe 14 days. So you have 14 days, the first 2 weeks, it's just boot camp stuff, the basics, the stuff that when I did my training on goal setting the other day, that's really what happened. A lot of people were, making points about setting goals and not setting goals. And I kept thinking, well, it really does boil down to how you land the plane. And I thought about flight school. And after I thought about flight school, I'm like, this is how I originally set up my training years ago. And everybody's like, well, what about this? What about that? So I did all that, tried everything that everybody recommended just to come back to what I knew should have been the way I did it in the first place, which is exactly like flight school. I mean, if it's taught to save people's lives, then it's probably the right way to do it. And the key was learning the emergency procedures. How do you land the plane in every circumstance? If the engine shut off, if the hydraulics shut off, if the tail rotor stopped working, how do you land the plane in the most adverse of conditions? And that was the thought process. If you don't know how to land the plane, you definitely don't want to take off. So the instructor pilots would teach us how to do all the landings the first 8 weeks of training. That's all we did. Focus on landing. Well, when it comes to buyer agents, and I'm gonna make a big deal out of that today because of what's going to happen on the 17th. When it comes to buyer agents, you literally have to have multiple ways of landing the plane. And for everyone who's been in this industry and you haven't learned that, because most of the brokers are like, financing is not your thing. And I don't understand that at all. Majority of people who come in the industry come in as buyer agents. And if you come in as a buyer agent and they don't teach you how to operate as a buyer agent, I just had a conversation with someone a couple of days ago, and their comment was, well, yeah, everything I was told was as soon as I get a client, just send them straight to a lender. But my thought process is, well, how has your business been going? Well, I haven't closed anyone in the last 11 months. Wow. You have people, but are you getting leads? Yes, but you haven't closed anybody in 11 months. Well, take it from Julian Jackson. I don't even need to hear anymore. I know exactly why you're not closing any deals if that's your strategy. Because you think you have one loan officer. And if you think you only have one loan officer, you're never going to close anywhere near the amount of deals you can close. Because I've met loan officers who are not very good at USDA, so they don't even try it. They're not good at veterans, so they don't even try it. They only know one way. And whatever that one way is, if you don't fit that mold, they're not even going to try to help you with anything else. Because if they don't get their business, they don't want you to pass that business to someone else. And I've had agents that have told me, well, the lender I work with told me not to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, they legally can't even tell you that. From the Texas Savings and Mortgage Lending side of the house, if they were to hear them say that conversation, they would take their license from them. RESPA does not allow you as a lender to tell anyone they can only use you. You can't even make that comment. That's why the buyers, that's literally like, telling people there's no competition. It's me or no one. You can't use anybody else. And so when that happens and a realtor says, well, I can only use my loan officer, then you just limited all of your own production. Now, that really starts to come into play when I introduce this whole concept of new builds to everyone. Because every builder has different incentives, they're usually tied to their lender, and they can do stuff other people can't do. Now, for anyone who doesn't know this was news to me. I learned this about 3 months ago, and I learned it the same time Lakeisha learned it. And congratulations on your closing yesterday. But this was actually the client that I believe had like a 559 credit score. Now, I hope you guys heard what I just said. They had a 559 credit score. They were military, 100% disabled, and D.R. Horton has a program where they pay an extra amount of money, and for whatever reason, that's all they need to correct that low score for veterans. I think it can go no lower than 550, but as long as it's over that, they have a way that they just pay a fee or something, and it allows them to be able to close with, guess what? the same 4.99 interest rate they give everybody else. Now, if you don't know that, do you honestly think going to a lender who has an 8.25 interest rate is going to be like, oh no, hurry up and go over to that builder because I can't help you? It's not going to happen. So that's just one example I'm giving you guys so you understand, like, the reason why a lot of people haven't closed as many deals as they possibly can is because they haven't had someone explain to them how important the loan side is, how important and I want to make sure this is correctly stated, the real estate financing, because you're not doing loans. You're just knowledgeable about real estate financing, the same things that you taught in real estate school. So with all that being said, I hope everyone understands, like, you don't have one loan officer. You have whichever loan officer can get your client the best deal. And if it happens to be a builder, your lender, whatever the case may be, that's who you work with. And with that being said, when we get into the buyer agency stuff here in a bit, that's what I want to make sure everybody's focused on, understanding what's about to happen in this industry. They say we're going to lose about 25% of the folks. I think it's going to be more than that. As I read more of these Facebook forums and I see some of the comments that are being made, people are just completely lost. I mean, we got brokers going back and forth at each other. We got brokerages going back and forth at each other. Some brokerages calling each other losers and vice versa. And I'm just like, it's all about, well, who's handling this lawsuit change the best way? Well, we're not going to know that for about 3 months. So for anyone who thinks their way is better, it's just funny to me. Let's just wait and see. And for now, we just keep pushing forward. We have a game plan, and that was the whole point of putting this together. We don't care. We just have a game plan. We're going to follow it. And as you guys can see, look at the results on this page. So I'm going to jump into this really quick. I know there's a few people that are missing, so this will take a lot less time today. But just look at this page. I mean, I'm still looking at people with 3 leads, 5 leads, 2, 1 appointments, closings. I mean, come on. I mean, if this is still happening, that means real estate's still being sold. And if we're the ones that are doing it, perfect. Let everybody else argue about what system is better. We don't really care. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and, if Tanya's able to jump in, I'll let you. If not, let me know. I don't know how much background noise you got going on there.
I think I'm okay. He's attached at the hip because we're not at home, so it's a little crazy here. But yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of you on the buyer's agent thing that's happening tomorrow, which is crazy, and how it's giving us a really good opportunity to capture more market share, especially just seeing these leads that everybody's been getting this past week. We're going to lose a lot more agents that aren't willing to put the work in, and so it's going to make a big difference in our business for the good.
Yep, absolutely. All right, yeah, and that's really the key to understanding this. Like, no matter what people are saying out there, I always say stay away from the naysayers, because they're always going to be, as I put quotes out multiple times, there's always going to be those people, that they're the ones that have a problem for every solution. So when you around negative people, just avoid them, especially right now. Right now, with the market saying and what's going on, you want to focus on one mentor. I've had multiple people ask me certain questions, and I'm like, I mean, if you don't like my opinion, that's fine. But usually what they're saying to me is something negative, and I'm like negating it. Like, I hear what you're saying, but it's kind of irrelevant based on what your focus is on. You're asking me to solve a problem that I really don't even want to discuss, because in my mind, if that's where your focus is, that's what you're going to put your attention on. Whereas me, I'm like, why don't we just focus on what works? And again, we had this conversation last week, but it bears repeating. There's 2 things we got to think about whenever you're dealing with real estate. It's the cyclical part of the business and the seasonal part of the business. And for everyone who gets confused about that, I try to simplify it as best I can. And it really just boils down to cyclical means whether it's a buyer or seller's market. And a lot of people don't know what that means. So typically they're looking at how many months of inventory. So anywhere from 1 month to 6 months is what they're trying to determine that makes the buyer's market or the seller's market. A neutral market is considered somewhere between 3 and 4 months of inventory. So between 1 and 3 months means we're probably in a seller's market and conditions favor the sellers. They're going to want to get more money, have to make less concessions, etc. 3 to 4 months is kind of neutral. That means, it's going to take 3 to 4 months for the homes to sell. And then 4 to 6 months is basically a buyer's market. Homes have sat on the market for so long, Now conditions favor the buyer. Now they can say, hey, I want concessions. Your home has been on the market for so long. Maybe you want to take less money. Otherwise, I'm not going to buy it. So when you understand that's the cyclical part of the market, you're not sitting there going, I don't understand this. Well, cyclical usually happens over 5 to 8 years. That's been tradition for as long as I've been alive, and I've been buying and selling and helping people purchase and buy real estate since 1998. So when you understand that's how the market works, you can jump on top of these trends. But then it's also seasonal. So, summer, spring, winter, fall. Like that's really what you got to be thinking about. What happens during each one of these time frames? And as I mentioned the other day, if you know this is coming, wouldn't you want to put your marketing in front of it? Well, I'm telling you it's coming. And I've been telling people for years coming, and everybody's going, I can't believe how accurate you were. Well, I've been saying new builds, new builds. The savior for this entire everything that's happening is new builds. And if you're good at listings, great. If you got clientele that are sending you business, yes. But you definitely still want to take advantage of the new build market, because these builders aren't going to go out of business over something like this. They're going to try everything in their power to get agents to come out and help them sell. So they're offering 5, 6, 7% commissions, some as high as 10% commissions, bonuses. I mean, you name it, they're doing everything in their power. They're not only covering 6, 7% for us, they're paying all the closing costs, buying down the rates to 4.99. One has a 2.99 interest rate right now. So anyone who said, oh, the interest rates will never be in the twos again, wrong again. And I've been saying this every single month for the last 11 months. Like, I'm sorry, but we are going to see twos again. It just won't be from a lender. It'll be from a builder. But if you're not working with builders, you can't do that. So now you see what happens when you have a backlog of people that are waiting to jump into the market after they see one full point drop. Now the goal is to have it trending downward, not just temporarily going down. So if it trends downward, which every other week or so we're going to see whether it's trending up or down. If it keeps going to the lower fives, then the builders are going to get lower. And that's really what we're looking for, because I can already tell you, I always call it like the December to remember, like the Lexus event. All you guys got to remember is it's the December to remember, and builders, they pride themselves on having more sales in December. Typically, it looks like what you're going to see in the listing season from tax day to Labor Day, or pretty much when kids go back to school in August. So that's really what it is. It's like around April till the middle of August when kids go back to school. People stop buying houses or stop listing houses because they want their kids settled in school. But then the buyer market picks up for new builds, and new builds knows that, so they start offering incentives to get more of the houses moved. And so if you're trying to think of the trends to get in front of, I just kind of shared them with you there. All right, but with that, we got, looks like Ashley's with us. I don't see Andrea. Let me see if she's with us. Don't see Andrea there. I know Sherry's out showing, or they got a team meeting or something like that going on. I see Bessie's with us. Brianna's with us. Rod. Esmeralda got several appointments this morning, and so does Evangeline. One has California clients, and the other one has 2 or 3 appointments this morning and can only schedule it. Even she said she tried to work it around, but they couldn't do it any other time. So, all right, with that, we'll start with Ashley. We'll bring up to the stage and walk us through your numbers. Hey, good morning, Ashley.
Hey, good morning. It's been a little slow for me. I've been focusing on some of my listings and trying to get them moved and make it to the closing table with one of them. So my buyer leads, I got those from some of my listings. I have like a Facebook ad that I've got going on for it. And so I've had some people reach out and ask if it's still available, and kind of question the house.
Yep.
Generating interest there. And then I had a client appointment this week, and we were kind of waiting to see if she got a job promotion, and she didn't get the promotion. So she's not going to buy right now, but we're going to circle back in April when her lease is up for her apartment.
Gotcha.
And then I have, I did kind of go on a listing appointment this week as well. One of the pre-foreclosure leads that I got, I reached out. Actually, I set up an email campaign, and she emailed me back from my campaign and asked how I could help her. So I met with her, and we're kind of making a game plan on whether or not she's going to do a loan modification or just sell, depending on how much equity she will lose from the loan modification. So that's where we're at.
All right, good deal. So I mean, there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. So for everyone out there who's kind of hearing like what Ashley's working on, the bottom line is, I mean, she's making it pretty clear that you not only have to know the strategy you're using to pick up your clients, but what are some of the things they're going to face when that happens? So foreclosures, people who are waiting on promotions, that type of stuff. Well, what are some of the options out there that we can use to help them? And part of what she talked about was some of the numbers you got to know. So if you don't know the financing numbers, you don't understand the financing game, even on the seller side, there's things you got to know to help your clients to get through some of these things. So one of the things I might look at is if, like, for instance, the one with the promotion, check to see like what is her monthly payment that she's most comfortable with, and then base it on that. I've had multiple people recently ask me about, well, they're approved for X amount of dollars. That doesn't mean a whole lot in this market. We just went from one neighborhood to another, one from Converse all the way over to Petranco area. It's shocking how much different the monthly payment is for a $350,000 house. The tax rate in one area is 1.83 and another one is 2.6. That's going to change the payment. One builder's offering a 2.99 interest rate, another one's offering a 5.49 interest rate. When you see that, the monthly payment literally will change with that big a difference, probably $500 or more for the same amount of house. So it could go down to $2,000 a month versus $2,500. And so someone's saying, well, I don't know if I could afford it. Well, how flexible are you on buying a house? And then if they're thinking, well, if I can get it at that price, yeah, I'll do that. So look at these incentives coming in from the builders and kind of see if maybe one of those numbers is just right for your client. And then, propose the option, as it's never, hey, you got to do this because I'm trying to push you to buy a house. It's like, let me share these options with you, whether it's now or next year. One of my favorite things to say, whether it's 6 days or 6 years, 6 months from now, I don't mind. We're on your timeline, but I just want to make sure that you see all these options first. And sometimes I do what I call a test drive. I'll tell them, like, keep your checkbook at home. We're just going to do a test drive at a new build, because the whole, and I've shared the story with a lot of people. I don't know if I've shared with everybody here, but what Lexus used to do back in the 80s when there was a recession, they said sales pretty much stopped. They were like, we don't know what to do. So they started holding these test drive events, but instead of test driving for one day, they said, let them test drive the car for a week. They're like, take your car, park it on our lot, and keep the Lexus. And so they were like, let's just see what happens. So people came back at the end of the week with their Lexus and said, you can keep our car. We're not taking it back. We've had this Lexus for a week. There's no way we're giving it up. Can we afford it? Or the monthly? Can we do whatever it was that they were thinking they weren't willing to do after they got that test drive? They were like, never mind. We want the Lexus. You can keep our trade-in. We don't want it anymore. So sometimes just doing a quick little test drive will help out. And it gives me a chance to get in front of people to meet them. I also do the presentation, and I try to make sure I bring a hard copy with me and get them to sign it. You can always get them to re-sign electronically later when you change the details. But my ratio doing commercial tenant leases is 92%. I never have people give me a hard time for buyer tenant. And that's literally the same concept that I use for buyer presentations. It's the same concept. Bring the hard copy with you, get it signed on the spot, and then send it back later. But they almost always ask, like, what can we do to sign with you? And I'll walk you guys through that presentation. Then I'm going to go through it very briefly. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But all right, great job, Ashley. Appreciate your input. And looks like next up is looks like Bessie had an appointment. We'll go over Bessie's appointment really quick and then take it from there.
Appointment that her husband had passed away and she was thinking about selling. So we just met briefly to go over, some options and stuff like that. So she's still thinking on it. That's basically it. I got a couple of rental appointments, but I haven't really talked to them yet. So rental leads.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, I mean, I almost forgot about that, but Bessie, didn't you recently get a rental that was like $3,600 commission?
Yeah, but it didn't go through after all.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the strategy you're using is that's what you're finding, right? Clients that are looking for homes that can get you larger commissions than the basic $300.
Yes.
So,
yes, definitely.
Yeah. So as you're hearing, a lot of people may not realize it, but I've always told people this. My acronym is, BLAST. So without doing the blast off portion, that's first you got to brand yourself. Branding is extremely important. Then you generate leads. Then it's appointments, signatures, and tracking the transactions. So my concept is, yeah, you got to learn all the other stuff. Eventually, you might want to take those hats off, but you're always going to be thinking about appointments and signatures. So how do you go on appointments? How do you get those signatures? And we'll talk about how to get the signatures here in a minute. I'm going to go through a buyer rep presentation so you guys can see exactly what I do. But it just boils down to the more appointments you have, the more opportunities you get to present. And if you can generate more appointments, you generate more signatures, and of course, you generate more closings. So if you just follow the flow here, the pipeline, then obviously you're going to do better. But yeah, any little bit of progress everyone's making, I don't care if it's a rental, I don't care if it's appointments, whatever you're doing to keep yourself out there, eventually you're going to keep running into more and more people. What you don't want to do is like try to take a break and snooze and think, well, things are slowing down, so maybe I should slow down. Again, like I've said in the past, if McDonald's was having a slow month, nobody would know it. So no one should know you're having a slow month either. Just keep working through and you'll start picking up those nuggets that other people are missing. Looks like, okay, Brianna, looks like you have some leads from past clients and others. All right, I'll bring you up on the stage really quick. And we'll keep going from there. All right, good morning, Bree.
Good morning, y'all. So let's see. I ended up actually having 3 buyers total.
Okay.
And 1 seller this week.
And where did they come from?
I had 2 from my sphere of influence, and then the other one was a referral from my sphere of influence. Let's see. Let me just go through up here. It's because I wrote down the numbers when I first submitted that the class. But so let's see. I have not done any appointments this past week. I do have 1 contract that is due to close August 31st. That one's been interesting. We had a seller that deeded his house over to his minor daughter on accident, thinking he was creating a living trust. It was due to close last week, but because of that, it clouded title. So we are now working with an attorney to sell on the behalf of the minor. So if anybody has questions on that, I can help you out with that.
Well, that's a unique situation. All right,
It's
but yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah. All right, well, good deal. So I hope everyone's hearing. Like, all right, you haven't done any of the assignments yet, but you hit on some key things that you're going to hear from everyone over time. And that's basically your sphere of influence and past clients and all those other things. They literally are some of the biggest people out there for you to generate business. So even if you're not getting their direct business, you can get them to be, you'll see this in the training, but it's basically your marketing army. Not only are you asking them for business, but asking them to, promote you. And so one of the videos that we do in the very beginning is basically, it's like, hello world, I'm in real estate. Don't forget, blah, blah, blah. Don't be a secret agent. And you share that with your sphere of influence and get them to share it with their sphere. And you'll start seeing leads are coming in from that. But yeah, if you already got a sphere of influence, and you're already seeing how that works. Now we're just going to take the video concept and make that multiply. So, well, welcome. And yep, good job already.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we got Rod. I know Rod's got a couple of big deals going on. Rod introduced me to a builder yesterday, First America Homes. And yeah, I'm quite impressed with him, to be honest with you. But if Rod, if you're with us, walk us through your week.
Yep. So I still have that one deal in Elmendorf going with First America. I like you, just impressed with what they have to offer in terms of their the package for the build quality. Number one is the thing that attracts me the most for that builder, and they have a really great incentives going on for, I think it's up to like, for certain houses that are past a certain stage for almost their completed inventory homes, essentially, they have like $16,000 of incentives for closing. And I think they went to 4.99 as well. So 4.99 fixed over 30 or 16,000 in incentives. So really good build. They're starting out here. They've only been here for 14 months, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of them. But essentially, I've got that one that I'm working that closes on the 29th, and through the Spear again, a son of the first client. I'm working on a second contract in that same development. So hopefully those two connect. The second one connects. The other one's already set for closing.
Yep, perfect. And what are they offering for commission for realtors?
On those houses, 7%.
All right. So
Yeah.
I hope you guys are hearing. So typically we get 3%. And if you're making more than that, I met with Rod yesterday, but we talked about some of the things you can do with those additional percentage points. If you're not thinking rebates or helping, one of the situations I think, Rod, we talked about was lease termination, right?
Right.
How much did you say like their lease termination fee was?
I think they have like a lease termination fee. We're still trying to figure it out, the exact amount, but it's really essentially the early termination and relenting fee. So we're looking at possibly $2,400. Right?
Okay. Yeah. So if we think of let's say a $300,000 home, typically 3%, we typically get $9,000. But if you got a 7% commission on 300,000, we're looking at $21,000. So a lot of people will be like, well, I want to keep the whole thing because of all the things that have happened to me in my past. And, you know, I work with 600 clients in the past. I didn't close any of them. So this $21,000 is going to make up for all of that. And, you know, I like Rod's attitude, you know, no, if I need to give up whatever I need to give up to get them, even if it wasn't a total of 7%. And that's how everybody needs to think about it. We can't be thinking about making up for old bad news. That's we're out here to protect each client's best interest, not our own best interest. And I think what this lawsuit is pointing out to everyone in the industry is we're about to get rid of all those people who have to look out for their own interest. And if they're like, well, I got to feed my family. Well, if you got to feed your family at the, you know, by screwing someone over or not taking and helping them as much as they can, as much as you can, then maybe it's not the right industry, because that's how we got this bad name in the first place. And Rod, if you want to talk about what did the builder actually recommend that you do with the extra money, because they look at it as a total package, right?
Right. Yeah. So the builder is looking at, you know, how you can make the deal happen for the client and we can all be successful. So giving back some of your commission is obviously an option there for them. And I love, you know, the approach that Julian took when we went to talk to the same builder in another location, but instead of just walking in and asking, how can you send me some more leads? It was building a relationship, introducing himself and talking about how we can help them instead of how they can help us. And you should have seen the expression on his face. It was like refreshing, like he's never heard that before. He doesn't hear it very often. So I think the relationship that we build with them is really, really important with any builder, right? But other builders aren't as receptive, and then they put their shields up. But this builder across multiple locations so far against several sales agents that I've met all have that attitude of, you know, teaming and helping you be successful. They're constantly calling, and even like from other, I don't know how, but I guess through their own internal network, I've had calls from other locations there as well that kind of heard that I'm working a deal at this location in Elmendorf. So they're also kind of, hey, here's my inventory. How can we work together? Even offering to send pictures for, like, for example, locations that are near like a major employer, like, hey, can I help you market this? Even trying to help you market. So I haven't seen that necessarily from other builders and their willingness to help. I get it, right? It's helping me help them, but
Right.
It's a partnership, right? And they certainly approach it that way. It's not me against you. It's we're in this together to help the client be mutually successful. So I really love that about several of the builders that I've talked to so far, but in particular, this one builder seems to really understand it. And again, they're trying to grow their market, and I think they're going to be highly successful if they continue down that path. But yeah, just giving you options and thinking outside the box, being flexible with the transaction and helping to solve problems to get the deal done.
Yep, absolutely. All right, absolutely, Rod. Yeah, great job on that, and more to come. But yep, great job. And we got one more person, I think, and then I'll jump in this. I'll try to take about 10 minutes. But fantastic work, Rod. And yeah, I appreciate the sentiments as well. All right, looks like Lakeisha, looks like you had a pretty strong week on top of your closing from yesterday with the client with the 5. I'll let you start with that. Well, how did that program work with the 5? They had a 559 credit score, if I'm correct.
Yes, yes, they did. Good morning. So yes, they had their score was under 580. And that was pretty impressive to me as well, you know. And and it's crazy because I just had like a Lennar rep tell me that that's not possible. And I'm like, I think it is possible. I said, I'm working with someone in that situation now. You know, I didn't make a name or anything like that, but she was telling me that that wasn't possible. And she was like, I've been in the lending world. I said, well, there are lenders who can work with certain things like that, you know. So, but I ain't going to go in more details, you know, with it, but it's possible, you know. And
Bingo.
so, exactly. So, what you're saying is so true. You know, there's not one lender around. Different lenders offer different products.
Yep.
And it's something that we really need to know because it has really helped me out, you know, thinking outside of the box, like, oh, everybody is the same, and that's not true. And then I look back over all my brochures from different lenders, and each one of them have different, they have different options,
That's it.
you
And
know.
that's one of the biggest keys I like to stress to people. Like, yeah, I have a background in lending, but if people know me, you would laugh at how many deals I don't take because I can't qualify them better than another lender. And people are like, really? Like, you don't? I'm not going to lie to you and sit here and tell you, oh, my company can't get that done, so no other one can. And as soon as we found out about that builder program, I'm like, 5 what? They were like, yeah, we just did this for someone else. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I have someone in that situation. That's why, Lakeisha, that was the reason why I said we got to go out there because she's telling me they can do this. And I'm like, I want to see it myself. But think about that. Think about how many deals you might have done in the past that someone tried to convince you, hey, there's no other way to get this done. When in fact, all you have to do is shop around to different brokers or different builders, different lenders, and you'll find that out. Like, yes. And that's why I encourage you guys. Number one, you don't have one lender. You have multiple. And with new builds, you don't even want to talk to lenders because they will try to talk you out of working with builders.
Exactly. So in this particular situation, I got a phone call from a friend out of mine, and our daughters are on the same dance team. And she called me. She said, "Hey, I'm going to give you my uncle's phone number. He's looking for a rental. He's going to move out here." I said, "Okay." So this was in March, and so we met when they flew out. We met, and I was looking for. I had piled up a few rentals that they wanted to see, and we went to go and see each and every last one of them. And I'm looking at their face. We got to this last one, and something was wrong with the carpet. Like the dog did some damage to the carpet and everything. So I remember going into at least two of them, and I was like, "Have you guys ever thought about, you know, buying a house?" And they were like, "No, we don't want to." You know, they were pretty adamant about that. So this last house that had the little carpet in there, I thought about Julian's little joke. About toenails being in the carpet and blah, blah, this and everything. But they were still wanting the rental. And but I guess the last conversation we had, we were at the kitchen aisle talking about it, and I'm like, "Are you guys sure this is the rental that you want? I can get with the listing agent and find out what they can do about the carpet. Are they going to fix it? What's going to happen and everything?" And so I was like, "Okay, so I'm going to give you a scenario where I'm going to show you the difference in the rental and the buying side, right?" I said, "I know you're not interested, but just hear me out, you know." So I started talking to them about it. They were pretty engaged and everything. And so they was like, they made the final decision to say, okay, so I introduced to them lease to own. I gave them that option as well. So I kind of like gave them 3 scenarios. I said, you can either lease to own, this and the third, because he was like, you know, my credit is here, which was higher than it wasn't as high as he thought it was and everything. And I'm like, and also you're a veteran. And, you know, I went through all those scenarios with him. So they finally said, okay, we're going to do a lease to option. So they did that. They didn't complete the application fully. And then all of a sudden they ghost me. They stopped talking to me because I was following up on them like, hey, you didn't complete the application. You didn't complete the application. So like a month later, they called and said, we sorry we did that. We just wanted to think about what we wanted to do. I think we're going to buy. So we eventually went through that. I said, okay, how are we going to go through this? Because you're in San Diego. I want to do videos. So it's like, oh, my son, he's there. We can go through that together. So I met with the son. And when I got with the son, it was one house that they really liked. And that was the house that I was telling Julian about. And I was like, something is weird about this. It's not adding up. You know, the market is not adding up. The sales price is not adding up with, you know, with what I compared it with. So I brought it to Julian and I was telling him about it. And he was like, well, that's the same house that's over here. And I'm like, and they being charged for this 8% over here. And I'm like, and Julian was like, 8%, they can be over there. So so he was like, meet me over here. So I met him over. I'm glad I did. And I videoed that house and everything. And one reason I did not take them, I was going to take them new builds, but they were like, no, we don't want an HOA. And I'm like, yeah, you ain't going to fancy me without an HOA here, even pre-owned, you know. But yeah, so that was the situation, and it turned out wonderful. And I asked the wife, I'm like, how do you feel? She said, I feel so good. This was yesterday. I did not know we can get a house. I did not know it.
Bingo.
Yep.
So, and that's what I'm hoping everybody learned from that story. We are the experts, and I've conveyed this message, but they'll tell you what they want. You got to show them what they need. So you basically go, hey, I'm going to show you everything you said you wanted. But in addition to that, let me show you what I know that maybe you don't. And once you have that attitude, I'm so passionate about new builds. I absolutely believe the best option for every single person on the planet is to buy a new home, brand new. You have to talk me out of it as a client. And when they hear me talk, they're like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go look. And they get excited. I remember when I first started, people were like, how do you get them to look at new builds? I'm like, I don't give them a choice. I'm like, I'll come up with a nice, clever little way of getting them to come up. Hey, I need to stop by the new build here in this area anyway. I treat like my office is a great place for a little pit stop. So I'm going to stop by because I need to, go to a little boy's room and maybe grab a snack or two. There's got free food. Smells good in there. It's great air conditioning. And I don't know what that rental is going to look like. I don't know what that house is going to look like. But hey, meet me there first. I want some information I want to share with you. And then after that, we can go there. And I also have a little exercise I want to go through when I'm at the new build. I want you to kind of walk me through and tell me what you think about the house. And then you rate it from 1 to 10. And we're going to use that same process every single house we go to, whether it's pre-owned or new build. We get to the house, they look it over and they go, wait a minute, could I get this one? What's the payment on that? What about, I'm like, so the strategy works. You just got to figure out ways to be clever, be innovative, and then turn that into your process. And Lakeisha has started mastering that now and got multiple closings going on this month. And looks like, obviously leads are coming in and we haven't gotten to the lead part. So it looks like you got 5 leads, appointment, signature. Where did the leads come from?
So I've been working on, as like Betsy, I've been working on rental ads. I created a Facebook rental page and I also blasted out on Facebook Marketplace. And so far through that, I've been getting leads. This week I got at least 2 leads from there. I got 1 appointment coming up this Saturday to buy a house. I got 1 contract in from a past client. And then I got 2 Google leads. My Google leads are coming in. I see that.
Where are you posting Google? Is it through Listings to Leads?
No. Just my regular business Google page.
Oh, so you got Google My Business?
Yes. Google
Okay.
My Business. And that's been picking up. But the thing about that with that is that the leads, each one of them are like, reach out to me on WhatsApp. So I kind of engaged. Is that how it goes?
Well, Google My Business, if you have everything optimized, yes, that's a whole nother lead strategy. So yep. But because your posts are starting to go nationwide, you're going to go higher and higher up on the search engines. So when people start looking for, top realtors in San Antonio, your name is somewhere up there in the Google search. And if you optimize your Google My Business page, and that's what's happening. So
I had one girl reach out to me. She did last week. And I said, how did you find me? She said, I found you on Google. She said, I see that you're 5-star rated realtor. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yep. And the ratings are huge. The more reviews you got, absolutely. Yep. So no, you're doing fantastic. I think, another great week. And of course, that story, I think if everyone's hearing that correctly, I'm going to show you the presentation really quick. I'll do the 5-minute version of it today. But I'm going to show you guys what's coming for the week. But fantastic overall. And Lakeisha, great job and congrats again on your closing.
Thank you.
All right. So before we wrap it up, I got some quick stuff, run over a little, but it won't be like super bad. All right. So first off, I'll do a quick presentation. But if you're curious, like some of the things that Lakeisha was bringing up and some of the things that, if you watch my 36-minute video, I have this out there for everybody. If you're on the team, you'll see it in the group. But I'm just going to go through it quickly. First off, right now, everyone needs to be doing this presentation. I don't care whether you like it or not. If you're part of my team, you got to do it anyway. If you don't have a presentation like this and you're part of the mastermind, you're going to have to create something after what I do today. You have to create your own version of this, and you're going to have to run with it. But it boils down to, like, I literally tell people, we're your new build and listing specialist. So if they're listing homes, I'm like, well, as a new build specialist, I can show you inventory you might be able to see, might not be able to see other places. And right now they're buying the rates down, so you might be able to actually afford one and not have to worry about losing so much of the equity in your current home. So that might be how you start the conversation. Everyone deserves to achieve the dream of home ownership. Yep, absolutely. We don't tell you no, we tell you how. That's kind of the mainstay for everything I train. We have more options than everybody else, and you need to make sure everybody that you talk to knows that. And I'm going to talk about some of these options here in a minute. But it's like, are you a first-time home buyer? You got to first address people's pain points and wondering how a realtor can help. Because a lot of times, like, well, especially now, how can a realtor help me? Because I keep hearing these bad things. Well, we are legally obligated. I start using this word a lot now because I want people to know we're obligated to help you. This isn't some hobby. This isn't what you heard 20, 30 years ago. Like, you might read in Google, that we're snakes and rip off artists and all that crap. But the truth is we're legally obligated to help you learn about all of your purchasing options, negotiate the best deal on your behalf with a team of resources available to help you become a homeowner, no matter your situation. So we never tell you no, we tell you how. So for anyone who doesn't have this language, this might be a good statement for you to treat as your elevator speech. And going forward, I think you'll win a lot of business simply by just starting with that conversation. From there, this is basically all the stuff that I'm going to go get into. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but first off, a rebate. We can help with rebates, of course. We start with $500 minimum. Our compensation, you got to get into this conversation now. I like to let people know we'll do X, Y, and Z. There's no obligation to stay with us. The buyer rep side is still, even when you get them signed, they can still walk away, and I don't penalize people for that. If you're going to start charging for showing services, you need to make sure they know that up front. That short form allows you to charge for services. I mean, you could say something like $100 for the first 5 showings. First 6 showings out, that's $100. Anything after that, $75 for 5 more or whatever. You can do that, but you might want to, add a condition of, if you decide to purchase, or once you get that purchase, I'll refund that or rebate that back to you. That way, you're going to make something from just driving them around. Because now they're saying you can't show a house without them signing something, but you might let them know I can show you up to X amount of houses. But that'd be a great time to start your pitch on what you do as an agent. So the rest of this stuff, if you haven't had a chance to read over it, I'll let you, but I get into the compensation. In order to legally show a home, agreement must be signed. You got to have that conversation. Again, this is in the video. The stuff I really want to focus on today is more about the stuff that we do differently. How realtors help, absolutely. This is your elevator speech: locate, negotiate, facilitate, learn those bullet points. But this is what I want people to understand. This is how I get people to sign documents. Some people think of it as neuro-linguistic programming, but it's that language right there you see at the top. I do this with my buyers and my tenants with commercial leasing. And that's how I learned that this technique works. Commercial leasing, unlike residential leasing, I was getting $5,000 to $10,000 commission checks. So I'm getting the same type of checks for leases that I was for purchasing or helping someone purchase or buy a residential home. So I wasn't going to miss out on it. So I learned the technique, and I was like, when you sign with me, you'll get this. When you sign with me, you'll get that. And one of the things I would do is like, all right, one of the things that I need in order to show you off-market properties is a buyer rep agreement, because a lot of these off-market properties, some of these owners of these properties don't want to show the property unless they know you're serious. And a buyer rep agreement is how we separate the curious from the serious. And boom, they're like, well, I'm serious. Great. Where do we sign? Boom. And once you get that language incorporated into how you speak and what you say on a regular basis, this isn't that hard. I remember people were like, oh, the information of our brokerage service, I can't get people to initial it. I'm like, you can't get their initials? It's like, that's kind of weird. Like, what are you not saying? So I was like, I just went through it really quick. I said, you know what? I would not read this whole thing to someone. That sounds crazy. I said, there's only one point on here that I would make. And it's the one that's right under the statement that says a broker's minimum duties required by law. Puts the interest of the client above all others, including the broker's own interest. I just keyed on that. I said, you guys can look over the rest of this. My job is to take care of you, protect your interests above everyone else's, including my own. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm going to help you locate, negotiate, facilitate this process. I'm going to negotiate on your behalf and do this. I'm going to facilitate with all of my team members. If you really want to know how to win people over when you're doing your presentations and you're trying to figure out like what in the heck actually makes them want to work with you, well, I'm going to show you a page that, and I'm going to tell you a little story about it, and hopefully everybody tries not to laugh. But it was hilarious at the time. I put this presentation together for all my agents back in the day, and we gave them copies, said print it out, bind it, and then go take it and show, every single client that you get in front of, even if they're renters, walk them through this presentation. And as Lakeisha said, there's a page that I'll show you how to do the buyer. Even if they're renter leads, you still want to talk to them about buying, because a lot of them will go, I didn't know I could buy. It's like, well, yeah, it's cheaper sometimes to get into a new building than it is to get into another rental home. And you don't have to worry about picking the toenails out of the carpet from some previous homeowner. So, I heard that from a sales counselor. But this was a page that made us laugh. I had my partner at the time. We were looking at this, and the person came back and said, yeah, I decided to do this presentation and I didn't like the way it looked. So I tore this page out and shared, the rest of the presentation. But these leads aren't very good. We're like, the leads aren't very good. I thought you had 2 appointments this weekend. It's like, well, I met with them both on Saturday. We're supposed to go back on Sunday, and they wouldn't call me back. I'm like, those aren't bad leads. So then when she brought this back, and she goes, yeah, I tore that out because that would scare people off. I literally was shocked. I was like, if I was going to do a one-page presentation, it would be this. This is what you want people to know. These are all the things that could go wrong in a transaction. And if you want to get people to sign the dotted line, that's the kind of questions you got to ask them. Questions about things they don't know. If you're sitting there asking them stuff that they know, hey, do you trust me? Do you think you can get me to, I promise you I can do better than the next person. They don't care. That's totally irrelevant to them. But ask them what they know about loan applications. What do they know about their credit? What about debt to income ratios? Has anyone looked at all that information for them? Do they know what things, as far as gifts, loan programs that are available out there? The seller, what's got you motivated to sell? Is it issues with, a marriage or this, or this? It could be 100 different things. What about the realtor? All these different issues, all you have to do is ask questions that they don't know the answer to. And if you ask those type of questions, who's your title rep? How are they going to know? I don't know who that is. Who you got doing your insurance? Who's doing your warranty for you? You got anybody taking care of all that for you? No, I don't have any of that. Well, that's the direction you guys want to go, because as soon as you ask those type of questions, they realize they need your help. So by asking questions they don't know, that's the typical thing. Here's the worksheet on converting people from renters to buyers. So if you're on my team, you already know I make it crystal clear. You go buy a rental home, it could be right now $4,500 or more. And I'm like, you can get into some of these homes for $500, and I'm talking total move-in, because that's what they ask for. We've had clients get their $500 earnest money back at closing, especially when you're working with D.R. Horton. So I've sold probably 100 plus D.R. Horton homes in the last 4 or 5 years, and the team probably over 200. So it just depends, multiple different teams. This is where you kind of point out, do you know an inspector? Do you know an insurance company? Do you know how to get your repairs connected? Do you have a concierge? Who's going to take care of the repairs? What lender are you working with? Who's the escrow company? By the time you finish asking the questions, they're just going to be like, I don't have a clue. So when someone says, how do you prove your value? Guys, this is pretty much all you got to do is a presentation. But yes, there's key questions you want to ask. You will win more business by asking the right questions than you will by presenting, I am the best realtor in the city, and I promise you, like that everyone's going to say that. But what you really want to do is show your value by offering programs that they've never seen before. And then the financing, and I'll wrap it up here. But this is where we pride ourselves: financing options and alternatives. So if you're on the buyer side and you're thinking, well, I don't think I need to know all this, you do. And I've asked this question to multiple people lately, and I'm like, what if you went and got your loan officer license? Not that you needed to use it. Let's say you did everything except go take the exam. Is it going to hurt you to know this information and share it with your clients as a realtor? And I think if you answer that question to yourself, you'll realize there's absolutely nothing wrong with you knowing way more than every other realtor in the industry, because it's okay. There's nothing that says you can't. And now you're going to have to prove your value on August 17th going forward. And guess what? The best way to do that if you're a buyer rep, and that's what's changed, the buyer rep side. So if you're a buyer rep and you don't understand the way to show your value, like I don't know what I'm supposed to say to them. I'm telling you, this presentation works like gold. And anyone who uses it will tell you, like, yeah, they go, oh my God, like I didn't know I could do any of the stuff you just mentioned. So after today's conversation, hopefully everybody's kind of primed and ready for August 17th. It's on a Saturday, but I'm assuming that means by Friday, tomorrow, they want us on board with everything we're supposed to do. And then when this weekend hits, if you're not getting those agreements signed, you're not supposed to be showing houses. So make sure you get the agreement signed. Hopefully everybody on the team has already been doing that. I think most people have heard me say over and over, we should be doing that already. And I've already told you, just make, even if nothing else, have a hard copy with you, get it signed on the spot. Hey, before we go look at a home, I have something I need to share with you. And from there, you're good to go. All right. All right. So
Ashley was asking where to get the presentation from.
okay, I can send out a link. I think I had it in. Oh, it was in the new construction playbook, but I'll have to add it to this playbook. So I'll add it to the team. I'll send it out to the team. Anybody who's not on the team, I don't want to send it out to everybody because you need to approve everything through your broker. And some of the stuff I say on here, they may not agree with. So just be careful with that. But everybody on my team, I will take the hit as your team leader. And the broker comes down on me, then yeah, if someone says, oh, he said it's not supposed to be done that way, I'll take the hit. I'll gladly take the hit. I don't think it's a problem, but there's some brokers who don't agree with teaching their buyer reps how to learn financing options, which I think is silly, especially in lieu of what's about to happen. So, but yeah, I'll get that out to everybody. Thanks for the question. I see a couple more in here. Oh, good. Yep. Awesome. Okay, good deal. All right, and Tanya, anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, just I'm proud of everybody. You guys are killing it. So just keep trucking along and do have a great week next week.
Absolutely. All right. Well, yeah, you guys know what's coming this week. My thought process is give it about 3 to 4 months, and you're going to see the fallout from the business, and it's time for us to pick up some market share. So just be ready for what's going to happen out there. Don't let it phase you. Stay focused. Keep your eye on the prize, and we'll be just fine. All right. So until next week, you guys have a great one.